Fehu's state of mind is a personal journey that I want to share. It is a quest for wealth, but not monetary. My journey is leading me to happiness, experience, and knowledge to create a better me. Join me on my adventure and dare to create your own. I am Sean McDaniel, and this is Fehu's State of Mind.
Good evening. Good morning, probably. Welcome back to Fehu's State of Mind. This video comes to you from my backyard. This week was a busy one, getting back into the swing of things after vacation, and then it rained all weekend. So, what better place than the relaxation of home? So, my topic this week is the changing of decades and the process we go through, how it affects us a little bit, and how we can mold that into Fehu, into the Fehu state of mind. So, for me, July marked the 10th year I've been working in my current career. And it's not always what I thought it was going to be, but it's a good job. I do like what I do most of the time. But it really hit home. It's been a decade, been 10 years since I started. When I did start, I was just a kid. I was 22 when I started. And it got me to thinking about the fact that often those decade moments in our life are kind of rough. They're a different transition. Rightfully so, because you're stepping out of one era that you're comfortable with and you're moving into a whole new era. For me, 10 years down means I'm 17 away from retirement. And I'm not prepared at all for retirement, unfortunately. But I'm one step closer, so it made me think of that. So these decades, they can also be things like birthdays, monumental moments in school, your kids. Mine are only 3 and 1.5, but you can imagine when your kid hits a decade, that's a pretty monumental thing. But big on yourself. It's weird to think about decade shifts. I know it's 7 years away, but my next one is 40, and I can't believe that. It seems like just yesterday that I was, a kid. So, Fehu's state of mind, though. How are you finding your happiness? How are you finding your way to push forward and your way to grow as opposed to just become stagnant? I think that comes by mindset. I think that comes from grabbing it by, the horns and just saying, okay, it's a new decade. Look what I've learned from the previous one. Look what I bring to the table. And bringing it to the table. Bringing it to life. You bring a whole new set of skills. You bring a whole new you. So I know my transition from 20 to 30. When I turned 20, I was still in college. I was only 2 years out of high school. I had a part-time job. I loved that job, and I wish I could have stayed with it. My bosses were awesome, but my transition from my 20s to 30 was different. I had a house, I had kids. I had my first kid. It's terrifying, but it was cool because it It was that moving forward. So, and I think that's part of what Fehu state of mind is. It's constantly moving forward. It's constantly looking for the next step forward. And I want to tie that in, before we talk about the takeaway, to some books of wisdom that I'm partial to. The first one being the Bible. I'm a Christian, and I was raised Christian, so obviously it has some influence on my life. And I found some passages that were pretty cool about gaining wisdom and moving forward. This one applies to me because every year it seems like I have more gray hair, but Proverbs 16:31 says, "A gray head is a crown of glory. It is found in the way of righteousness." Job 12:12 says, "Wisdom is with aged men, with long life is understanding." So basically, the longer you're here, the more you should be learning, and the more you should be passing on to the next generation. For those that are moving into the grandparent stage, Proverbs 17:6 says, "Grandchildren are the crown of old men, and the glory of sons is their fathers." So, if you get to the point where you have grandkids, those are crowns. And I think for the ladies out there, Proverbs 31:10-31, the virtuous woman, or as the NIV says, the wife of noble character, is a mark of wisdom. I think as you grow, you learn to be a man or a woman, as opposed to just young and free and having fun, footloose. And that says, a wife of noble character who can find. She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear of her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom. Faithful instructions is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, or blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let for her work bring her to the praise of the city gate. And I think that is a conglomerate picture, if you will. So the other book of wisdom that I happen to really enjoy is actually the Havamal, which was, as I've referenced in a previous video, supposedly the wisdom shared by Odin in the Norse faith and in the Norse mythology. And he had a lot to say in the Havamal about wisdom. And I'm just going to read a few of those. He said in stanza 5, "A man needs wisdom if he plans to wander widely. Life is easier at home. He'll be laughed at if he sits among the wise and has nothing to say. A wise man is not showy about his wisdom. He guards it carefully. He is silent when he comes to a stranger's home. The wise man seldom wanders into harm, for you can never have more faithful friend than a good supply of wisdom." He goes on to say in stanza 9, "A man is happy if he finds good advice within himself. Many men have received bad advice by trusting someone else. A traveler cannot bring a better burden on the road than plenty of wisdom. It will prove better than money in an unfamiliar place. Wisdom is the comfort of the poor. A traveler cannot bring a better burden on the road than plenty of wisdom, and he can bring no worse a burden than too much alcohol." As you can see, both books praise learning and growing wise. And part of growing wise is obviously moving forward into decades. I think the takeaway is that you embrace the wisdom that comes with new decades, the wisdom that comes with change and moving forward. Because if you don't, and you don't wisely approach it, then you don't learn. And as the Havamal says, you look silly when you come into a group of wise people and have nothing to say. And it's not about being showy. It's about learning how to apply your wisdom without trying to prove a point. So I think that's where we have to move forward with the Fehu state of mind. I think we have to embrace coming decades. We have to embrace the gray hairs on our heads. It doesn't mean that if you choose to, you can't color it, but you have to embrace the wisdom that's brought with you. And understand that wisdom and things such as grandchildren and things of growing older are all part of the crowns that we're given and the medals that we've won for making it to where we are. This is all part of my adventure. What will your adventure be? Thank you for tuning in to Fehu State of Mind. And remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Please share the video. That's the only way this will get out. My goal is to help as many people as possible. It's a journey that I look at as we're all taking together. Thank you so much.